So as you guys know, today we are going to uh, have the first ever pack meeting. So we will get in Discord and we will chat about the stuff, you know. And yesterday I told you guys that we were gonna talk about the matchmaking because of that article we read. But I was thinking, let's not do that. Let's save that one for the next one. And today let's talk about the possible nerfs that are coming in the patch, because we have a patch coming up very soon, and what I want to know what people want to see in that patch, you know, in terms of balance, not in terms of monetization or whatever bullshit, but in terms of balance. What cards people want to see change, modified, tune, whatever. So let's do that. So we will get into in Discord in a bit. Let's wait that a couple more people get in here. And the rules are really basic. You can say whatever the fuck you want as long as you respect Twitch's TOS. That is all. That is all. And well, we are going to talk about the patch, the cards, the tuning, the whatever. We will go over that, you know. And yes, that is it. Easy as that, brother. Easy as that. What do you guys think about it, brother? Scorpion needs to not be all cats. Scorpion needs to not be all cats. That is one possible thing. But when they did that to Nakia, it completely destroyed the cat, you know. Maybe reduce the power of a Scorpion, you know, in himself from 2 to 1. That could help. Scorpion sucked before, brother. Scorpion was what, a 3-2 maybe one time. Scorpion was buffed because nobody used a Scorpion. I believe he was a 3-2, nobody played him, and they bring him down to a 2-2, and now he's one of the coolest cards in the game. Yes, exactly, everything you wanna see on the patch in terms of tuning and whatever. So for whoever is on the Discord, here you can see the Discord channel in the chat. You can join up, and I will move us to a channel so we can chat up, you know. So here we are. I've never used Discord and the stream at the same time, so we will have to maybe test it out, the sound and whatever, but we will be cool. So whoever wants to come up can jump up on the general channel, and I will move them to the channel where I'm at. Give me a second here. There is Raptor. Yo, Raptor, say something, bro.
Yo, brother, how's it going?
Everything's great, bro. I hope you are great. So what I want first is that we can that the sound is good and everything. So how do you guys hear real Raptor here? Can you hear him? Is the sound my sound and his sound cool? Say
you
something,
sound okay. So
you say, okay. So we are great then. Whoever wants to come up at any time, that is a Discord channel, and they can jump up on the general tab, and I will move them out to here. There is no exclusivity in here. Everybody can do it. So, Raptor, brother, what cards do you want to see nerfed or buff or change or rework or whatever?
So, a couple of cards in mind. The first one that comes to mind is Iceman. That motherfucker is annoying as shit. You know this. Everyone knows this.
Exactly,
you know.
I know that, brother.
He always hits the card that you need to play. You know, the Magic, the Sarah. You know, the good cards, and makes them completely unplayable. He has too much value as a 1 cost, and also his power, 2 power. The minimum nerf is 1 power, but maybe other adjustments as well. But that's just my thoughts.
Yes, I agree. Basically, Iceman is the best 1-drop in the fucking game right now. That is what is happening right now. There is no better 1-drop than Iceman. Because another disrupt tool that you could have is Korg, and Korg is not as close as much, does not see as much playtime as fucking Iceman. What is another 1 good drop, brother? Exactly, and how Comfy Boy is saying in the chat, the Iceman turn 1, Scorpion 2 turn 2 combo is insane. Everybody plays that.
Yeah, Scorpion as well, yeah.
We were talking about Scorpion a little bit ago, and I believe Scorpion was a 3-2 somewhere in the beta, and they buffed into a 2-2, and now he's played a lot. Captain Ice suggested that he shouldn't hit all the cards in hand. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that would be better. I think he should only hit maybe like a maximum of 3, maybe 4 cards. That way, you know, because some players they build a deck where it's like a late game turn, so they start playing card maybe turn 3 and 4. So if they're waiting and they have their Scorpion ready to go, it's gonna hit everything. So Scorpion just gets a lot of value, you know. If it's 5 cards, he becomes a 2/7 technically. So I do think the amount of cards he hits should be reduced to maybe 3, and also maybe his power as well reduced to 1. I think he has a bit too much power because too much value, you know.
But both things, because if you nerf the power, maybe leak the ability assist, and if you nerf the ability, maybe leak the power assist. You know, maybe the two things is overkill.
Fair enough.
Yo, Kailila, I see you on the chat, bro. How are you doing, my dude? So remember that you can jump up on Discord if you want. You can type !Discord and the channel will come up. So because Nakia was like a Scorpion, of course, for your own cards. And when they did that stuff to Nakia that she only hits 2 cards, she was obliterated. And now nobody plays that bullshit. And maybe that could happen to a Scorpion too. I believe that a Scorpion could be played at a 2-1, maybe. Bring him back to a 3-2. I don't know if that will be enough. I was thinking about another bullshit and I completely forgot about that thing. And it was related to a Scorpion because of something you said. Oh, I remember. Because the thing with the Scorpion is there are some decks that are weaker to him. Like a Cerebro deck gets destroyed if you don't have Luke Cage in the deck, you know, by a Scorpion, because he disrupts your entire strategy. So there are some decks that are basically very weak to a good Scorpion. Him being played on the turn 2 is really good. I'll be honest, I like the cat, I like a Scorpion, I like the character, so I don't wanna see him being completely out of the game, but I would agree that he's maybe too powerful right now because everyone is playing a Scorpion.
It never feels good when you get a Scorpion.
Yeah, it never feels good. And when it is something like a Kamartash and they play an Scorpion on the Kamartash, that is bullshit.
Sinister.
So you guys know that I want to see the leader reward, but at the same time I feel that I saw a lot less leader this month than the month before. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I've been coming up against less leaders nowadays. Still doesn't take away from the fact that he's a bullshit card, but it's good to not see him as much. But that is also kind of a problem because nowadays people don't play him as much. That means when he does pop up, it's going to be very frustrating because he just copies everything you do on turn 6 and just wins the game, you know. So he definitely needs an ability rework.
I completely agree, because the problem is that he's not fun, not even for the guy playing the leader. When I win with the leader, I'm not having fun because I did nothing. I just played the leader, the other dude thought about all the possibilities and he just got beaten by a stupid play. So that is not fun, it is fucking bullshit, brother. And Kailila, what do you mean about making a Scorpion's effect just an ability and not an on-reveal? How would that work? Like an ongoing ability, I don't know how would that work.
Ongoing, that could be okay, because then you could cancel it out with Enchantress and stuff, but I feel like that would still be powerful. Because then it's just ongoing, every card just gets nerfed with less one power.
It's weird. Because if it is something like Dracula that is not ongoing, nor on reveal, how would that work, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know how it would work. Maybe something like next card your opponent plays has -2 or -1, something like that could work. Now, one of my controversial stuff with what I want to see nerfed is a card that nobody talks about, but I think that Devil Dino is too powerful. Do you think that Devil Dino is okay, or is he too powerful?
I think he's okay. I don't like anytime I come up against the Double Dinosaur, I don't really find too much of a problem because maybe I'm either already running a Shang-Chi or an Enchantress, or maybe I just have enough cards to build more power than him. But I do get the argument that he should be maybe nerfed to maybe like 5-1 or something like that, because he does get a lot of value, especially with the Moon Girl combo. He becomes really big. So I'm okay if he stays the same or if he gets nerfed. Not really a huge issue to me.
Yes, I would agree with that. That it is not one of the focus on the game right now. Like one of the cards that really need an adjustment. But I do feel like Devil Dino is too powerful. Like you get a 5 power, 12, a 5 energy, 12 power easily each fucking game. You know, without too much effort, you don't have to set it up. It is really strong. Kailila says that don't hate on my boy Devil Dino.
He's a cool guy.
That dude got me my level 6 Siberian 3 seasons in a row, and that is exactly my point. Devil Dino is really powerful. Captain Ice says that Leech needs an adjustment. But Leech was for a long time one of the worst cards in the game. Nobody liked Leech, nobody played Leech, and he rose to prominence because he countered the Silver Surfer bullshit. So maybe that says more about Silver Surfer than Leech himself. What do you guys think about that? Yo, the legend, brother. Go.
I feel like the meta adjusts depending on like what is the most played decks in the game. Like the Leader Leech was played at a time when people were playing with these big combo games, you know, like the Silver Surfers or like a Sarah deck. So because that was like the meta, it's like you bring out Leech and it just ruins the whole plan. And then people eventually change to decks where even if they leader, it either benefits them. So they can leader like, they can Leech like a Red Skull, an Infinite, and it's a Destroyer, and that could be better for them. And then because of that, because more people are playing those kinds of decks, then Leech starts to fall off the meta. So I feel like it's kind of a balance. I don't think Leech is like that OP because he only has 3 power. You know, you have to play him on turn 5. So it's just one of those things where if you do see him a lot, then it's just a matter of adjusting your deck so that you can beat Leech in the game, you know. That's just what I think.
I would agree with that because, as I said, Leech didn't see a change and he rose to prominence because he was the answer to a really strong deck. And it is cool that there exists in the game tools that you can have to deal with the crazy stuff that is rose into prominence. And the Leech leader stuff was more bullshit because of the leader, because the leader supposedly what he wanna take against is against point slam on the last storms. Mainly something like Death Wave that you can play She-Hulk, Death and whatever bullshit on the last storm. And the combo Leech leader doesn't care about that because even if the cards don't have an ability, that is even better for the leader because he just cares about the points that you are giving him. How much do you hate leader 1 to 10? 11. I hate the fucking leader.
1,000. No one likes the leader.
I'm seeing a lot of Leech and that destroys Sarah Surfer. Exactly. And I, in my climb to Infinite that I played a lot of Silver Surfer, the Miracle Surfer, Leech was one of the counters. But I found a Leech in what? 1 in every 20 games, something like that. And you use retreat in that case. And there are some times like the lucky draw, of course you can't count on this, but this happens where they play Leech and you don't have Surfer in hand and they take away the abilities, but then you draw the Surfer and you have the ability for the Surfer and they don't know that and you destroy them. Of course this happens 1 in 20 again, but it can happen. But what this says to me is that I don't think for now the Leech needs a nerf. Maybe in the future if he continues to be so dominant. But for now, there is not even a good amount of play rate. I don't feel that Leech is played a lot. If you compare him to other tech cards like the Worst Offender Cosmo or Shang-Chi or Armor or Scorpion as we said earlier, those cards see a higher play rate. And of course the number 1 card that I want to see adjusted in the game, or they bring up another card that can counter that card, is fucking Cosmo.
I think Cosmo should be like a one-time trigger thing, so it's like on reveal next turn, on reveal abilities can't happen at this location. Maybe that makes him a little bit more balanced.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
So his ability, I think, should from instead of ongoing, it should be on reveal, and it's like a one-time trigger thing where it's like on reveal abilities
Oh,
can't happen
okay.
at just for that
So
one
you
turn.
have to time it right in the moment where you think the opponent is going to play his big on reveal stuff.
Yeah, that's it.
For exactly, they play a one, and you suspect they are going to play something on reveal on that one, and you play the Cosmo on that moment to prevent it from happening.
Yeah, so it's kind of be like a reverse Enchantress, because Enchantress is like a one-time trigger to get rid of ongoing effects. So Cosmo can be kind of like the same thing, but for on-reveal effects. For one turn, he deactivates on-reveal abilities from happening at this location, and then it's back to normal from then.
Yes, yes. Captain Ice, we are on Discord. You can jump on in here if you want. Everyone can jump on in here if they want. Here is the I will move us to the general channel so people can stay in there. If you jump into my Discord, this is the link. You get into the general channel. We are there. You can see Jazz and Real Raptor at the left hand panel. And that is all you have to do. And we can chat it up. Saw Spider-Man Absorbing Man was so annoying this season. Yes, but I believe nor Spider-Man nor Absorbing Man need a nerf. But Sabu could use a nerf. He's annoying as fuck. I hate fucking Sabu. I even thought that they were going to release him instead of reducing by 2 energy, by 1 energy. But they didn't do that, obviously. And I don't know why.
He might feel more lackluster with only 1 power nerf. That's why maybe 2 power instead, because then that the combo plays is not going to be like as good. So you play Zabu on turn 3, but then on turn 4 you only be able to play 1 4-cost card. So it then feels like less valuable, you know.
Yes, exactly. But at the same time, you prevent the bullshit on the last turn of playing 3 4-cost cards and you just play 2. That is still pretty good. But I see what you say. Maybe my suggestion would kill the card and nobody would use it, you know.
Get rid of it.
But getting back to Cosmo, I would be fine if they keep the same ability but they take down power. Cosmo would still be played at a 3-1, but would see a lot less play rate, you know, and he would still be good. You don't kill the card and something like that. But we also still need something that can counter him, because he's the only fucking card in the whole game that can be countered. There is no fucking way of countering Cosmo, which is stupid for me. So I would like to see them drop Cosmo at least to a 3-1 in the next patch, and I don't know if they will do it. But you
Maybe
know, go.
Maybe even increase his cost to a 4, so he's like the same as Shang-Chi and Enchantress, since he is technically a tech card, so he would fall in the same line as them. And also that means he won't be able to get buffed by Silver Surfer, which is another OP card.
That is true. That is true, because the Cosmos Silver Surfer synergy is good. In fact, it is one of the things that I use to climb. So I agree with that. And if you take into consideration the other tech cards, as you said, as Shang-Chi and Enchantress, they are 4. And you have the Sandman that is a 4-1. And I understand that he has to be weak because the effect is really powerful. But the same goes to Cosmo, because Cosmo's effect is also really powerful. Kalila says, Sid, my most wanted card to make a deck with is Luke Cage. I have it pinned in my shop. I am waiting for it to drop in price. I love Luke Cage. I am playing a zero deck that uses Luke Cage. So, Captain Nice, you joined the Discord, but you can figure out. Are you seeing my scene? Here above my cam, do you see this panel that says Welcome, General, Spanish Chat, Live on Twitch, Video Recommendations? Do you see that? There is one that says General with a speaker. Click in there and you will join. If you don't see this panel, then we have to figure out how you can see this panel.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you, bro.
What's going on, gentlemen?
What's good, my brother?
Everything is great. So, what do you think about what we have been talking about until now?
I think they're all great ideas. The only thing I would suggest is the idea of maybe limiting it, Cosmo, to the next turn. Don't change anything, but just say the next turn on reveals don't work here, and
That
see what
was
that does.
Raptor's same idea. So this is a popular idea, so maybe they should try that. But
Yeah.
that will involve a lot of mind games, you know, that you have to play him properly.
It's yeah. At least you don't have to force a card that counters him. It kind of controls him a little bit
Yes,
without
yes.
creating a new problem.
Yo, Red Orb, are you Captain Nice? Apparently they can talk right now. So, well, and then I would agree with that Cosmo approach, because maybe that mind games can bring like fun to the game, because it is fun when you predict what is going to happen. But at the same time, we have cards that function like that in the form of the Guardians of the Galaxy, and they suck.
I mean, it's not like the same as the Guardian Galaxy, because that one you have to predict like where they're gonna play in order to get the buff, whereas Cosmo is just one of those, like, you're just essentially locking down a location for one turn from unreveal abilities from happening. So, you know, it doesn't even have to be like, oh, you're guessing where they're gonna play. It's just okay, maybe they've set up maybe like a Silver Surfer deck, so you think, okay, maybe they're going to play Silver Surfer on the right location, so I want to play my Cosmo there, and then that's going to show him down. So it can be like a final turn surprise play, kind of like that, you know, because it's better than just him being a forever ability that you just cannot get rid of. No unrevealed abilities can happen, because, you know, as we saw from, I believe it was a Drew Berry video, he said that like over 75% of the cards in the game are unrevealed. So one card being able to shut down permanently for the whole game, I think is really unfair. So I think it should be just a one-time trigger on reveal.
In that case, the weakness would be that if you don't predict correctly when they are going to play their own reveal, you wasted your play, right?
Yeah, but then
at the same time, there are also, I can see how it wouldn't matter in some cases, because there are cases like I said earlier about the Wong. Like if they play the Wong and you know they are going to play their biggest stuff, maybe 6 turn, and you play the Cosmo in there, you force them to play the reveal on or another lane, even if you don't predict where they are going to play. Sometimes making them, force them to play on another lane is good enough. So maybe that would work like that too.
Wong is like one of the most fun cards in the game, and Cosmo completely shuts down the location. So, you know, like I want to play Wong decks myself, but knowing that Cosmo's always lurking, I think I just play it there, and now I can't do anything. It is quite frustrating. So, you know, because Cosmo is the biggest counter to Wong, it makes him not that good. But if Cosmo gets that nerf of either maybe less power, as you say, so that he's not like, doesn't get as much value, I still think he would be valuable because of just that ability of being able to shut down on reveals permanently throughout the whole game. It would still make him viable even with low power. You know, you think of cards like Mystique, she has 0 power, but the pure value she provides justifies her being 0 power, so you still see her being played a lot. So Cosmo, I do think, just be one turn, so it can mess up a Wong on the final turn. It could be mess up Wong for one turn, so the plays won't be like, oh, they've completely destroyed my strategy. It could just be, okay, for this turn I cannot play on reveal here, I can maybe play somewhere else, but then the next turn, now that I can, I'll play my Wong combo here, and they can do what they want.
Yes, I agree with that. And you know what happens at the same time? What happens with Wong also happens with one of my favorite archetypes, that is a discard archetype. So if I play an Invisible Woman to protect my discards, and they play a Cosmo in there, I already lost the game, and I can't do anything about it. The Cosmo ruined my day, and I can't do anything about it, and that is stupid.
Yes, Cosmo is Invisible Woman's and Wong's biggest counter, because you're trying to set up a full combo behind Invisible Woman, protecting the Hela from being discarded and all that, and he plays the Cosmo down and you're fucked.
Exactly. So yes, I would like to see Cosmo adjusted, and the same goes for as I said earlier, for tech cards. We have armor. Maybe at 3 power, armor is too powerful in terms of energy, because the effect is really strong. Not only she serves to protect your own stuff, but she also serves to disrupt strategies from the enemy in case they have some type of destroy strategy, you know. So I believe armor is really strong. Is she a problem that is destroying the game as the leader and Cosmo? No. but she could use a little adjustment. Maybe a 2-2 would be enough. What do you think?
Yeah, I have a personal bias against armor because I love the destroy archetype, and armor completely shuts that down. You know, when I want to destroy my Deadpool, my Bucky Barnes, and they place armor there, and I'm like, okay, well, you've just disrupted my thing. So, as a personal bias, I would say just make it so it protects your own things, not the opponent's thing. But then, of course, you don't have a counter for destroy, apart from Cosmo, I guess. So, I would say, yeah, just a power adjustment would be better. Make her a 2-2. I think that would make her a little bit better because, you know, she's protecting your stuff. So I think she should be a 2-2. Whereas like other stuff, they're also a 2-2, like Goose, she's a 2-2, Daredevil, he's a 2-2. You know, I feel like it would make sense for her to be the same power as the likes of them since she does provide a good amount of value. So
exactly, because you don't play armor for the power, you play it for the ability. But having that extra power, what happens is that decks that would normally not play armor end up playing armor because why not? And that is when the problem starts happening, and you see the play rate of the card rise up. Because in a deck where you need a 2-drop, you don't know what to include because it doesn't disrupt your strategy. You just use a tech card that can help you out in certain scenarios, and that is armor. So you see a lot of decks that don't focus on taking advantage of armor's ability, just play armor because in the case they play against a destroy deck, then they have an answer. And that isn't good in my opinion in card games, and that same stuff happens with Iceman. It is like, I need a 1-drop. What am I going to include? Well, let's just include the best fucking 1-drop in the game, you know. Of course, the Iceman is a worse offender than armor, but it happens to a certain degree with armor too. So this goes back to what we talked about with the Drew Berry video, that tech cards in Marvel Snap are like the best cards, you know. And yes, we need tech cards, but they are too powerful in here. And I fucking hate Shang-Chi, by the way. I believe maybe he's okay in terms of balance, but I fucking hate Shang-Chi. What do you guys think about Shang-Chi?
yeah, I hate him as well because, like I said, destroy decks are my favorite, and one thing I like to do is get Venom as big as possible and then copy it with Taskmaster or Animals him to other locations. And because I'm focusing all on one location, it means that most likely they'll have priority, so they can just go ahead and Shang-Chi that location, and then my Animals has nothing to, you know, to destroy and whatnot. So Shang-Chi, I think, is like he's a fun ruiner because you want to play the big stuff, you know, the likes of Devil Dinosaur, Red Skull, Typhoid Mary, maybe. You know, stuff like that you want to play down. You want to see big points on your side, but knowing Shang-Chi is always lurking in the background, always going to strike your stuff, it makes it like, you know, it ruins the fun. It really does. He's needed because obviously, you know, you don't want your opponents to be too overpowered. But I don't think he gets too much value because he destroys all 9 power or more cards on the location. I think maybe he should be tuned down to maybe just 1, but maybe then he might not be as viable or as good. That's what I think, though.
Yes. Yo, Redor, we hear you. Or Captain Ice, how would you prefer to be called? You sound like really far away, and I can't really tell what you're saying.
Is that better?
Yeah, I'm having trouble hearing.
Right. Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, that's
Right.
right.
So if he just destroyed 1, that'd be so much easier. But going back to the Cosmo conversation, if Cosmo had 0 power, as in it was a 3-0, then that would be a lot better because you do have to have something to stop Shan. If Shan's in a conversation, then you need something that's gonna stop him.
I agree with that statement.
Counteract it, but a 3-3 is maybe not the best use of that. But you need something that's gonna counteract it at least.
Yes, I am on the boat too, that I am fine with Cosmo keeping the ability but reducing the power even at 1 or 0. And if you adjust both cards, as you are saying, Shang-Chi and Cosmo at the same time, Cosmo is kind of the answer to a Shang-Chi. So you use Cosmo to protect your biggest stuff from a Shang-Chi. So if they change the Cosmo ability, that would affect your ability to protect yourself from a Shang-Chi.
You can use armor as well.
Armor too. Yes, armor is another tool, of course.
He can't
Uh,
just, in my opinion, get rid of Cosmo. But
get rid of Cosmo
could
completely.
reduce it.
I agree.
Yeah, but you could reduce it like Mystique, where that's a 3-0, and at least then you're not getting extra points. But
Uh,
you're
Zero, I think, is maybe too weak.
in it.
yes, yes. Your sound cuts out a lot. What Real Raptor said about Shang-Chi being a fun ruiner is the way I describe Shang-Chi too. He doesn't let me have fun, and that bullshit is the same as the leader.
Like, how often are you gonna get like a whole bunch of like big cards on your side? You know what I mean? So that's why I think he should only hit one
can.
card instead of like a whole bunch of cards. You know?
You can get a whole bunch of cards if you're, for example, playing the death deck. You can bob a good couple of deaths down there, and someone champion is gone.
So there is a card that some people think that should be tuned, and some people don't. And this is a pretty controversial one, and I want to see know what you guys think about it. And it is wave. Some people think that wave effects shouldn't stack with other mana reduction effects. For example, the She-Hulk one and the Death one. That everything should cost 4 and that's it. There is no stacking of this effect, and that would prevent all those crazy combos that we know that can happen. So what do you guys think about this?
I agree with this because yeah, the like the prime target you want with the wave is the likes of She-Hulk and Death, but then you take them away, she's still viable because the whole point of her is to make it so that you can only play one card on the final turn and they can only play one card on the final turn. So it's kind of like a trade-off that you make all the cards in the hand cost 4, but because you can make the likes of Death and She-Hulk cost less, make Death cost 0, make She-Hulk cost 2, it means that you can still play like a massive combo on turn 6 and the opponent is only restricted to 1. So I do think that's quite unfair. Like I said, I like Destroy archetypes, so you know the fact that Death Wave is a thing, I like it, but you know I have to be fair. I don't think this kind of interaction should be a thing. So that should be either removed or yeah, it should just be removed. She should just cost 4 regardless.
I disagree actually. I think Death Wave is like real fun because of Wave's interaction with Death. So I think they should keep it. It makes the game fun, keeps them more active because you can do big combos like that. It's very satisfying.
So what do you do? Yo, Redor, go. Say again?
I personally don't play Wave, but I don't have the issue if someone else is playing Wave against me. I think it makes it quite fun.
So you
Especially
like
if I've got
waves
Death.
effect too?
Yeah.
So, but then what do we do when someone plays She-Hulk, Death, and I don't know, the leader in the same turn? How do we respond to that? Because that is the thing people says about Wave. Because even when it was only the interaction was only with Death, it was for some people it was quite unfair, but it was still fine. But now you also have She-Hulk, so you can play three cards on the last turn and the opponent only plays 1, and that seems kind of unfair, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's just too much of a power play at the final turn because of the whole interaction, and it makes it so that you can cheat Death out as a 0 after only destroying a total of 5 cards, when if you want to get the most value you have to destroy 9 cards in total. So the interaction is too powerful. Like I said, it's fun, I like it myself, but I think for the general player base it'll be more easier, more better for them.
The other thing you could do is just be how do I say this, like be picky and do it as you want, like the developers, I mean. Like, we already know that it works with Death. It has always worked with Death. It is like a staple. Let it be like that with Death, but remove the She-Hulk one. Like She-Hulk can be reduced that way, something like that. What do you guys think?
Oh, sorry, I was reading like some of the chat
That
saying that you have to
works.
give up 25 to say.
I think Death should remain. Maybe like remove She-Hulk's interaction, but Wave's interactions, Wave and Death's just iconic now at this point.
Exactly. Kick the death one and remove the She-Hulk one. Like, yes,
Yeah.
selectively. That was the word I was looking for.
Okay.
Do it selectively, you know,
Yeah,
for
I
the
mean, yeah,
developers.
sure. Like, I guess if it's just with Death that she works with, then maybe sure, because it's not like she works with a bunch of cards. It's just Death. So, I don't know. Personally, like I said, I don't mind it. I want to keep it, but I'm just like speaking for the larger player base. Maybe for them, it's more frustrating because they can't take advantage of Wave, but you can.
What
But I guess
what Code is saying on the chat is true too. That you have to give up turn 5 to set it up, and on top of that, you have to destroy stuff throughout the game. Yeah, I know that if you have Wave, you only need to destroy 2 things for death to cost 2 energy, and if you want it to be free, you have to destroy how many things? 4 things.
5
So
things.
yes, it requires a lot of setup to be able to do that.
Equally,
It's 4.
It's
Also,
4.
yeah, 4.
Okay.
equally, if we do that on the other side, PlayStation they can shan it.
I didn't understand what you said.
So equally, if we do that, then on turn 6 they can shan our death that we've already put down on turn 5, but also we have to think about the fact that there's other stuff involved, like because we're gonna put death down, we're gonna shan this. That's obviously a factor in it, which has happened to me more. And I'm like, oh, they've waved this, I'll put my death down, and then they've shan me, and
Yes.
there's just no point there. But the wave also can help them when they've got over 6 cost cards, they can put down at 4 cost.
So we are cool with them keeping Wave as it is. This is one I have seen videos about from other content creators, and Wave is one of those controversial ones where a lot of people want to see change, a lot of people want to remain the same. I would be fine with it remaining the same, but the point that some people make is that when they nerf the leader, and it is going to happen probably, that Wave is gonna reach is gonna rise to power again, because leader was what put that Wave in check.
Yeah. Maybe if they nerf Wave, they could also nerf buff Death by making it like an 8 cost and not a 9, so it's easier to get out.
Yes, yo Habibi, how you doing, brother? Yes, we are in Discord. You can join if you want to the conversation. We are talking about what we want to see in the next balance patch. So until now, I have said what cards I think should be cards that people talk about when they talk about the nerfs, but I haven't asked you guys what cards do you want to see changed.
Like changed or just nerfed or buffed or
in any way. It can be a nerf, it can be a buff, it can be whatever you want.
Angel buff. I need an angel buff.
Angel buff, an angel buff.
We could do Wave the other way and make it 5 buff.
Wave.
Yeah.
Actually, that's
Instead
a
of
good
making
idea.
everything, make it 5.
5 what?
5-4.
5-4. All right. Okay. I wanna, you know, guys know that I wanna change the leader, Aero, Devil Dino, Silver Surfer. Oh, we haven't talked about Silver Surfer. That is one that is also controversial because people said, well, I paid money for this card, I don't wanna see it changed, and it isn't that powerful. It is counterable by Cosmo, by Leash, by whatever. But I do think that Silver Surfer offers a lot of fucking power for just 3 energy.
Almost 2 power.
I personally don't think so. Like, personally, I don't think Silver Surfer is that okay. can disagree.
I can't understand a thing that you are saying, to be honest. I
Because
don't know if my headphones are fucked up.
No, I'm having trouble hearing as well.
I'm pretty sure she said Silver Surfer isn't that OP.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it's better.
The Silver Surfer isn't as OP. Well, it does
No.
require a lot of setup, but at the same time, it's a lot of fucking power for 3 energy. And if you manage to play Sera, of course, you won't play Sera always. And you can't say that it is the Silver Surfer's fault that Sera exists, you know. But if you do, then you put 3 cost cards on the last turn, and you just take away what, like 15 power or more from a 3 cost card. It is insane. I believe the Silver Surfer will be equally played, just providing 2 power. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to change any of these cards right now from the perspective of someone who's at 2200 collection, because I have no cards that make Silver Surfer work. I purchased that card last month and I literally have never used it, not once.
You
'Cause
don't
I
have
don't have-
Sera, Maximus, Polaris, none of that.
None of them. No Sarah, no Maximus. I don't have Brood. So it's worthless for me. So it's like, for me, I don't even, it's all hype. I see it all day long, but I have no idea how it works. So that's why you got to be careful, because remember, they don't even want us to collect all these cards. So it's that when they start changing cards and you don't even have access to it, it feels weird.
And do you face, in your games, do you face Silver Surfer a lot against you?
All day long. If I'm using my Zabu deck, because I'm a conspiracy theorist, I'm seeing Miracle Surfer or a mirror deck all day long. It's the craziest thing. And I don't have Patriot either, so I have no use for it. I can't do any of these
So
like
then
meta.
you would agree that they should nerf the Silver Surfer, because the Silver Surfer is fucking you over.
But I
No,
have
because
a
then you have
Silver
Cosmo.
Surfer deck. I have a Silver
Using Cosmo,
Surfer
but-
deck with Brood and Patriot, and honestly, the amount of times that I actually use Silver Surfer is very minimal.
So you are talking about the Patriot Surfer deck, and you find that a lot of times it's better to not play the Surfer.
Yeah. So I've got the Silver Surfer, I've got Mystique, I've got the full Silver Surfer deck, and most of the time I will not use Silver Surfer. It's just
That
not
is,
worth it.
I played that deck too, the Patriot Surfer, and I believe that is one of the cool things about that deck, that you have like variation on your strategy. You know that some games is better to Patriot, and some games is better to Surfer.
I
Having
think
that
I would
ability.
say on
that deck
average,
gets hard countered by
I use
sorry.
Silver Surfer 10%.
10% of the time. Wow. So at that point, wouldn't just be better to take him out of the deck?
Yeah. I have
Because
been thinking about just taking him out
because he's not doing his job, basically.
no, the fact that I've got Patriot, Mystique, I've got Blue Marvel in there.
Blue Marvel.
See, but the messed up thing is a lot of the counters, and they probably did this on purpose, are the pay to win cards. Because I have Super Scroll, and Super Scroll counters a lot of things like Patriots, ongoings. It hard counters the Raptor decks, but not many people are going to have Super Scroll, and you got to be careful, because if a lot of people get Super Scroll and Cosmo is involved and those two get into the meta, on reveal is gone. You're basically locking out 2 locations every game on one of the players, or if those become strong cards. So it's like a fine line between what you can and can't do right now, which is it's strange. So if you don't have all the cards, it feels very oppressive, but once you do get all the cards, it's not.
Yo, Broken Draco, thank you very much for the follow, dude. You are fucking awesome, dude. Welcome to the scene, dude. If you wanna chat, you can join the Discord. Here is the Discord in the stuff. Thank you very much for joining. What you are saying, I haven't thought about that, but in that case, the opponent has to play the Cosmo and you have to play the Super Scroll, so there are 2 lanes locked out. But if you also play your own Cosmo, there are 3 Cosmos basically in the field, right?
Exactly. And then now 1/3 of all the cards available don't even work anymore, and that's gonna make a lot of people quit.
That's why God mode needs to change.
So yeah, we're very close to it being broken right now. It's
and
not
Super
working.
Scroll is one of the cards that is going to get downgraded, but at the same time, a lot of people say that he's weak, but you say that you play him and you feel he's strong.
Yes. I mean, think about it. All of the major ongoing decks are available. He utilizes all of them if he's there. I mean, I've surprised, and most people don't see it coming because he's not available to a lot of people.
Exactly.
Once it's not available, people will see the value of it.
Yeah, if you throw a 4/2 down and then they throw down 2 Raptors, you now have like a 440.
Exactly.
It can get crazy.
You mean 2 double dinosaurs? Oh.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying that's one popular deck. If they throw down if it's a Patriot deck and they throw Mystique, now you're doubling everything with 1 card on a 4/2.
You don't have in the Patriot case, you don't have the no ability cards to make him work, right?
In Sabu deck, I've got the thing, and you could make it work.
Well, depending if you are Super in your deck, then you could build like a deck where, if they are playing ongoing, you can take advantage of that. So maybe.
Yeah. Well, for instance, Blue Marvel is very popular. If you can copy Blue Marvel, you've taken their strategy. You just absorbed it, and it's basically a net zero play on their half.
Yes, that is a good one. Blue Marvel is a good one for sure. In my initial assessment, when I saw the announcement of the cards before they were released, I thought that Super Scroll was going to be really good because the ability sounds good, you know. But since he was released, not a lot of people played him, and I said, well, maybe he sucks, and my original assessment was wrong. But at the same time, what you said just now is also true. Not a lot of people having. So with Series 5 cards, we don't really know the full power that they have until they downgrade and people get to play with them and experiment with them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
More people
unfortunately.
So maybe Super Scroll is really good, and we won't know until he gets down. And you know what card I believe will help with that too? I believe Valkyrie will be played a lot more. I believe Valkyrie can be a good card when she gets downgraded.
Yeah, because Super Scroll is basically the Cosmo for ongoing. He shuts down all ongoing. But nobody has really seen him yet.
I mean, you could just play like a negative ongoing, a bit like Electro or something, which has a negative ongoing. Destroy your own.
Yes, that's true. Electro, it hurts you because now you can only play 1 card.
Yeah.
So it's double edge. It's true.
It goes back to the point I was making earlier, where it's like whatever is the meta nowadays, people will adjust their decks in a certain way to like counter that. So if people see that people are starting to play Super Scroll nowadays, then most people will probably build Electro decks. So that if you play down Super Scroll, then you can only play 1 card at a time, but you get to take advantage of the +1 energy. And
the other card that is like that is Ebony Maw, right?
Yeah, Ebony Maw as well.
I'm trying to think what other cards. Well, we talk about Silver Surfer and talk about Sabu. You guys think Sabu is alright like he is, right?
He seems alright, man.
Not just the Darkhawk interaction makes him really strong. It's just with Darkhawk he's really strong. Other than that, he's not that bad, to be honest, in my opinion.
And what about Darkhawk himself?
That Zabu Darkhawk deck's just insane. Not many people have it though, so.
What about Darkhawk himself? Is he alright, or should he be adjusted?
I don't come up against him a lot, so I can't make a
same.
Same here.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
and he has been played against me, but not a lot, so I can say like, oh, he's really strong. But when I face him, he's like a 417 or something like that, you know, every
It'll be one of-
time, every
It'll be one of
fucking
those
time.
things where the more you come up against him, you'll start running the cards to a counter it, like Shang-Chi and Enchantress, and then it's the whole strategy's gone.
And scroll. I was gonna say I don't have Darkhawk, but when I do see him, I have a counter for him.
That is true too. That is true.
Yeah, so it's just depending what the meta is. The other players can just adjust to counter that meta, basically. Depending what the meta is.
One
Yeah,
card
they've done a
that
great job.
people don't talk about is Professor X.
Professor X. Oh, I hate Professor X, by the way.
Oh man. For real.
Yeah.
Why? He's a cool card.
He's a cool card, but I hate him because for me he's a double-edged sword. So I suck, and a lot of times I just gift the lane to my opponent by playing Professor X.
That sounds like a you problem.
And the
issue.
other thing is that the Daredevil Professor X combo is really strong.
Yeah,
It
it
is.
is, because you can just see what they're about to do. So you could just lock down a location. But that's just a Daredevil deck, though. So overall, I don't think he's that big of an issue. I don't find that he, overwhelms me because he only has 3 power. So it's just a matter of being able to make him work. The Spectrum as well, giving him more of a buff, that is also a bit of an issue. But Professor X as a card by itself, though, not that much of an issue in my opinion.
Yes, yeah, and I believe it is because exactly of that. What balances Professor X, he's annoying as fuck. But what balances him is exactly what I said. He's a double-edged sword. You can screw over yourself, and that is exactly what makes him that he isn't overpowered. You know.
I've had games where they had priorities and I placed down Enchantress in the same location, so they flipped over the Professor X, then my Enchantress flipped over, shut down the Professor X, so not a problem there.
I have never seen that interaction, bro. That is cool. I didn't even thought about that, but yeah, that can happen. Cool.
Interaction. If you think about it from the other side of the interaction, I've bobbed, something else in there, and then I do Professor X, and then I do Silver Surfer.
And you buff the stuff that is inside Professor X.
Oh, yeah, then we're winning 100%. So
Going
in
up to
certain
Super
decks,
Scroll. Oh, sorry.
Professor X can be absolutely OP.
Hello,
Yo, Demo, brother, how
Yo.
you doing, my dude?
I'm cool. Yeah, it's Demo from Deco.
Yes, we have Demo in here. He's currently the #1 player in the world, the ranking, the leader or whatever, right, Demo?
Wait, what?
For real?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real.
Rank
Congrats.
500. Made it today.
500. They got 500 today. In the-
That's 500,000 ahead of me.
That
That
one.
is-
So yes, maybe his opinion can help us out in here, you know. So what are the cards you wanna see adjusted, Demo?
Personally, I think Aero is as good, or if not better, than Leech. And I do enjoy Aero. Don't get me wrong; it's a really good card. I just don't understand why it's so beefy.
I completely agree with that.
But I mean, if Aero was a 5/3, I'd still play it. 'Cause it's rarely the power that you're using it for, but just win a lane and as well because it's 7.
Exactly, because what you wanna do with Aero is like you are winning 2 lanes and you just play Aero on the 3rd lane and move the stuff and you just win the other 2 that you were already winning, right?
Yeah, and what's becoming more and more of a problem, even with the power nerf that happened to it, I'm seeing a lot of Shuri into Aero, which is super annoying.
So
Having to deal
a
with
14
14
power
Aero
Aero and you win even the Aero lane.
Yeah,
That is fucking
it's pretty
stupid.
nuts. It happens a lot, more than you'd
Oh.
think.
Thank you for the idea. I'm building a deck right now.
Other
Yeah,
shirts games
by all
are
means,
play a lot more now.
I'm not saying don't do it. I'm not saying don't do it by all means. I'm a big believer, and if the filth is out there, the filth should be embraced.
No, he's green, no problem.
But
So-
it don't make sense to me why they'd let Leech. You know, why can't Leech be 7 then? You know.
Nah, Leech is too powerful.
Exactly what
Yeah.
you say is if the Lich is at 3 power, there is no logical reason so that Aero has 7 power.
So in my eyes, they both serve the same purpose, right? You play the card and win the game on its own, on the spot.
Exactly.
If you lead-
Exactly.
Yeah. So, but the thing is that Leech has got more of a chance of backfiring than Arrow.
Because of the existence of cards that have drawbacks, right?
Inferno and Red Skull and all that.
Yeah,
Like,
and then
If,
maybe
know,
that you just
Red
don't hit.
Skull-
Maybe you don't hit their key card there and then because you have to do Leech on 5. Nobody's going to Leech on 6, right? They still have a chance to do a top deck, whereas Arrow,
Play whenever.
well, if you do it, drop it on 6, you're going to hit the combo, are you? Like 100% of the time. They're not going to pass on 6 unless they're soaking sunspots.
Now, how does Aero work for you in terms of power level if you have or you don't have priority?
It
Of
does
course.
change things.
It is better
Oh.
if you do have priority, right?
Yeah. But then it's a tough
But
one.
that's not
Is it, it's hard for me to put a broad stroke across it because it's just so contextual, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
It depends on the board state, depends on the locations, when it would be best. But I guess generally speaking, you could say it's better if you do have initiative, yeah. Or you're going for, I don't know what do you call it? We call it initiative or incentive, whatever you want to call it.
Initiative.
Going
Yeah.
first.
It's priority. Either
Yeah, priority.
I'll say initiative.
priority back.
Yes,
I was
it's the
lurking in
same
the
thing,
stream and then I
initiative,
booted. Sorry, go on, Tez.
Yes, the same thing. Priority, initiative, the same bullshit.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like I could be really dramatic and say if Arrow was 5-0, it'd still get played.
Nah, it would
That's
be
the
the negative and all that as well then. Could
Yeah,
steal.
that's. We should just
But
bring
we
me
have
on to the next
remember,
thing.
I don't know if you played the game then, demo, but there was a time when Aero was a 5-6 and she didn't see as
Yeah.
much play. But I believe it was because people didn't have her, That was at a time where people wasn't seriously complete, So it was a rarely played
Yeah.
card.
Right, yeah. I'm not sure. I definitely wasn't playing then because I joined in at Miles Morales season and it was 5-8.
Because that is one of the things that maybe secondary things, like we don't wanna reduce Aero power further because we already had her at 6 and she sucked. But maybe that data isn't as valuable because it wasn't as big enough in terms of the player base.
Yeah, true. But that does bring me on to I don't think Mr. Negative should probably be in the game. I know it's very fun, but it makes balancing the game really tricky.
Nah,
I have heard that a lot. Like he makes like the future design space of the game is really hard to evaluate, because
Yeah.
you have to always think about Mr. Negative existing.
Yeah.
Every card that comes
Yes.
out that has less power than cost, people will always say, "Oh, Mr. Negative."
Exactly. That is
Exactly.
one of the arguments for people for not nerfing leader to a 0 power because then you buff the leader. They say. I don't
Yeah.
think that is true because Mr. Negative. I don't see a Mr. Negative that wanted to play the leader. What do you think about that?
I think Mr. Negative could be nerfed to like then only the next card is negatized. That you draw something
But
like
Mr.
that.
Negative is also draw dependent. You have to get him either by turn 3 if you're running Psylocke, or if you don't get Psylocke, you need to get him by turn 4. So it's actually kind of hard to pull from Mr. Negative because you depend on him being drawn at a certain turn.
Yeah.
If you don't, And then
He's
if you
not-
don't and you hit him on turn 5 or turn 6, you now have a -1 card that you can play out, and then he's useless.
So the Mr. Negative deck's definitely got a negative win rate. It's got a
Yeah.
lower win rate than other decks, but it has a higher cube equity because
Exactly.
a lot of the time they're just going to retreat and the opponent doesn't want to believe it. And I think, at least in my experience, turn 1 goes by, right? Snap on turn 2 and you're like, I wonder what he's got. He's got Psylocke into Mr. Negative, and now you feel obligated to play it out, for as long as you can.
I
And
do
you
that
just
all
have to
the
watch
time.
Madness
I do that all the
unfold.
time, and I say, well, what is the possibility that they draw exactly what they had, and they did, and they completely destroyed me. I had to retreat, When they do the Mr. Negative bullshit, you have to retreat, brother.
Yeah, it's so true. Usually I just end up watching it till turn 5 and decide to dip just to try and get a bit of research done if I'm not in a rush.
Yeah, same.
It also kind of
And
matters like
from-
what.
Go.
It also kind of matters what Mr. Negative negatizes as well, because the prime targets you want to hit with him is like Iron Man and Mystique. But if you don't negatize them, then you kind of have like a weaker play at the end. Like you could pull, like from a negative deck that I play, you could end up pulling like a Blue Marvel at the end, or like an Angela at the end, or even a Psylocke at the end. So even that case, it makes Mr. Negative kind of weak if you already have Iron Man and Mystique in your hand with the regular cost, because getting a free Iron Man and a free Mystique is going to be really powerful. So I think that Mr. Negative isn't like that OP, but I do agree that like anytime a new card comes out with less power than cost, it brings up the whole issue of, does it work well with Mr. Negative? And if it does, it will make it creates kind of an imbalance.
Exactly. Well, if you see it from the perspective of the Mr. Negative player, yes, it is true that it is draw dependent, but you have to contextualize the way that Marvel Snap works. So from a good Mr. Negative player, if they don't draw their combo, they will just retreat for 1 cube, and then they will get their combo and they will get an 8 cube win, So yes, they have a negative win rate, but they get a lot of fucking cubes when the things go their way, So even if it is draw dependent, since the deck is only 12 cards, you are going to see the combo be pulled off in some games, in enough games so the deck works. So that is how Mr. Negative players think, And again, it does brings the question about, will the design team on the game have to bear this cross forever, because Mr. Negative exists, that every time they are designing a card, they have to think, we can do this because there it is Mr. Negative.
That's it. Like, I know Jazz would play it out if he was already in because he's a madman. But like me personally, if I was on a serious climb and I've already been snapped by the Mr. Negative player and he's done a couple of turns, or even if he's passed all the way up until turn 6, I still believe him and I'm not going to play it out. But that's how they get all the cubes, right? Because
Mr. Negative is also like
they hold everything, and on turn 6 they drop you the Iron Man, the Mystique, the other bullshit, and they turn the board around insanely, and you don't expect it. Or well, you do expect it, but you don't believe it until they do it.
it feels
I
so
think
bad when it happens.
Mr. Negative is also kind of like a high skill card, because you still have to know how to pull off the right combo, because you can't just place cards down willy-nilly thinking that you're going to win. You also have to know, like, okay, I'm going to put cards here, it's going to give me this amount of power, because someone said the other day, like, yes, players can get lucky really early on and get all the good cards, but they still have to know how to play that deck in order to actually win. It's not just a matter of, oh, they've got all the cards they need. If they don't know how to play it, they're still going to lose. So I think Mr. Negative is also like a high skill cap card.
That is true. That is true,
This is a
because you
good
have
point.
to have that mentality of playing the game different, that you aren't playing to win necessarily every game, but to maximize your cube game. So it is different than other decks. And I have to say that when I have made videos about Mr. Negative and I play him, since I don't play a lot of Mr. Negative, I struggle a lot to make it work because I'm not used to it,
But I would
I
have
think
a
when-
question about that, because I never thought about that. If this game to infinite is about cubes, is Second Dinner even considering that ratio, or are they only looking at game win percentage when they're evaluating strength of these cards? Because if you're
Apparently
smart playing,
they evaluate the cube game, because cube
'Cause-
game is what matters.
Are they
Yes,
the only thing I've ever seen is they talk about the win percentage of the card.
I know on the lead. Oh, sorry,
go.
Jess.
Go.
I was just gonna say on the leaderboards that the where you can get the data mined information, it does have everything, you know, like win rate, cube rate. What else does it have? Again, you know, and your ratios and stuff. It does have it all, but do
Yeah, 'cause
raise.
I'm wondering
I've
if
never
they
heard.
take that into consideration.
Well,
Yeah.
yesterday we read an article about the matchmaking, and Second Dinner said that in matchmaking they take into consideration the cube rate more than the win rate. So I would assume
Okay.
that in other aspects of the game they do too. You know.
Okay.
Especially when like Mephisto gets added, the cube rate's gonna be absolutely insane for Mr. Negative.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
you could just sit
so-
back and throw nukes.
So how does that work? So what? Imagine you win with an inverted Mephisto on Bar Sinister. Are you gonna get 50 cubes for that game?
I'm assuming that they can change it so it's only like once per game. You can't
Yes,
stack
exactly.
it.
I assume that the ability is only going to work once. You know, not. It doesn't matter if you copy Mephisto. It only triggers
Wow.
once, so you can get 16 cubes and not 100 cubes if you're copying in a bunch of time. Or at least I hope it works that way.
I was going to say I hope it works that way, but
Wow.
it's a mad thought, isn't it?
I definitely
Imagine-
will. Otherwise,
Because then you only need to win one game in 50 games to rank up,
No,
and that will be
so-
silly.
But check this out for a bad idea, and in Mr. Negative deck, you play Arnim Zola on Mephisto, all for 0 on the last turn. So you've got double Mephisto, and you're getting, and you know how they like double to actually dibs a game.
I didn't hear that last part.
you got
So you play Arnim Zola, which is a 0-6 under Mr. Negative, on Mephisto, which is a 0-6 under Mr. Negative, and win 2 lanes, and then they stack together so you can get 32 cubes a game.
Exactly. That is what I hope they don't do. It will be stupid.
that'll be broken.
You think
I don't
you'll
think
lose 16 cubes as well if you lose
Yeah.
the game?
You imagine
lose
losing
them.
3 levels in a game.
No, but I believe the card, per the wording of the card, you only win more, but the player that loses doesn't lose the extra cubes.
Ah,
Oh,
It just says double your winnings. It doesn't
Exactly.
say like
It says double your
double.
winnings.
yeah, double the
okay.
winnings mistakes. Another deck that Mephisto could go in is like a Hela deck. So you can like discard Mephisto with like a Lady Sip or something, and then bring him back with a Hela, as well as other powerful cards like Infinite. That could be also a good way to guarantee a win, and then get yourself
Yeah.
16 keys.
That is one of the combos that I like.
So speaking of Hela, how do you guys feel about Hela? I feel like she
don't
should
have-
have an effect.
it's
I
a bit,
like
I feel like-
it's a bit, but it's very fun to play.
I feel that she could use the both. Like, so she
Yeah.
has the same sort of effects like Apocalypse, but she doesn't gain any attack. So if you do discard her, it's just a bit of a whiff, but it stays in your hand. Or
needs
do you
to
reckon that'd be too
discard,
strong?
She's
Just
a
be
little
both.
feast or famine.
The thing with Hela is that her ability is really good too, right?
Yeah.
Much value.
I love Hela decks. Those are one of my favorite decks. But what do you think about just Hela being like a Heimdall or an Odin in terms of power, like 6'8"?
What's she now?
She's
She's
6'6".
6'6".
Yeah, I guess that would be good.
I'm not
It's not the
opposed
pow-
to it.
Are we saying that Hela is
It's not
like
the
too?
power that's the problem. It's
terms of
the
power.
tech that she's able to get knocked out
I'm just
herself.
salty because I always discard Hela every time. Every time I try it, I just somehow manage to find the Hela in my hand and discard it.
Yeah.
Same, brother, same. And I read earlier an article talking about the variance in decks, and Hela decks are the ones with the fewer win rate. They have a good cube win, but they have a low win rate because of course, precisely because of that, because you always discard the fucking Hela and you have to retreat because you lost your win condition.
Yeah.
But if they make it that Hela can't be discarded, then it will be like too powerful, right? Because you always
Too
have your
OP.
Hela.
Yeah.
I mean, with the introduction of Night Nurse, she might become better.
Exactly.
That's true.
Exactly.
It's very true.
He's gonna bring it back.
It's a 2/2 that adds all the cards that were destroyed or discarded back to your hand.
Wait, that's a bit OP.
We need another thing that does the same thing that Invisible Woman does, right? And apparently the Goblin Queen might be one of those. Have you guys checked that out?
That invisible because nothing can be revealed for this turn. I think is it just that turn
Exactly.
or
For one turn, nothing can be revealed for one turn. So you can play a discard, the Goblin Queen and a discard, and then you don't risk discarding Hela for that turn at least, and you can play
that's
the next
good.
turn.
Is that a 2/2?
Yes, it's a 2/2, 2/3 or something like that.
I think she's a 2.
I was assuming the Goblin Queen would have done something like Hobgoblin, Green Goblin.
That could be a hard counter to these Zabu Sauron style decks, you know. If you set them back a turn, if you've got initiative moving into turn 3.
That would just destroy combo decks.
We were saying that you can't play her. Well, you can't play her on turn 6, but there's like a final unrevealed section that happens at the end of the game. Because we were saying that you could play on turn 6, and then nothing can be revealed. So if you're winning, then none of the cards are going to be revealed. But don't think she'll be able to work that way, because there is like a final unrevealed that happens at the end of the game, similar to how like Dracula discards a card at the end of the game, and then gets the power. How Captain Marvel moves like that basically. So she can't be like a
Yes,
hard
because
counter.
it would be unfair that nothing reveals on the last turn.
Yeah.
Well, and then throw Absorbing Man in, and now you have the same thing with Spider-Man Absorbing Man, where you're shutting down things basically for 2 turns.
I wonder
Yes.
why Absorbing Man has
No,
3 power,
that's-
or Mystique has only 0 power. Since Absorbing Man is basically the unrevealed version of Mystique. Mystique has 0 power, but Absorbing Man has 3 power. I feel like they should be the same. 0 power.
Yeah, they should.
So do you reckon Absorbing Man should be a 3 cost as well?
Either a 3 cost or 0 power, just like Mystique. So I guess they both should be 3 zeros.
I think, what's it, Rescue or Jessica Jones need to be the same power. I don't understand why they're different powers.
Yeah.
That's a dual-edged sword, because Jess Jones can never get shanged, and Rescue quite often does get shanged, and
Yeah. So I think Rescue should be
Rescue
nerfed.
was the same as Jessica Jones, and nobody played Rescue. I know this because Rescue was my first pull 3 card when I got into pull 3, and she was 8 power as the same as Jessica Jones, and she was useless. And they buffed Rescue, and now you see her play sometimes.
But then she's pro to Shang-Chi. That's the problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
no, someone mentioned Dracula just a moment ago. But, I'd like to see Captain Marvel AI buffed, because you can get the game in scenarios where Captain Marvel can't see the Dracula buff. So it should, in my eyes, Captain Marvel should be always the very last thing that happens.
No, the buff as well.
I have won games because the Captain Marvel is stupid, and yes, they need to buff. For example, have you seen what happens when you play Captain Marvel on Bar Sinister and you have 4 Captain Marvels?
Only one
doesn't
of them moves.
Yeah,
Wait,
they
hold
don't move because they don't know they can move together, you know.
Yeah.
Who's
And
more
that is
than
kinda
Captain Marvel?
stupid.
It is.
I don't know
Yeah,
if that
that
is
is-
intended, because maybe they think that then people that copy cards or whatever can exploit the AI of Captain Marvel. Maybe it is intended, or maybe it is that they don't want to program that bullshit because it takes work.
Yeah.
Sure, in rating, I think Captain Marvel is going to be a lot more viable, because now you can get a 12 power Captain Marvel. That's probably going to guarantee you to win every game.
Yeah. I was messing around with a deck. The reason I bring it up is because I was messing around with a deck that went Shuri, Captain Marvel, and him solo, and just hopefully they sort the game out by themselves. But it's yeah, they don't fly around very well together. They don't seem to get along with each other.
Things like, depending on I guess it goes like one at a time. Like the first Captain Marvel thinks she should move there, and then after that moves, the other Captain Marvels think they don't need to move at all. So I think that's where like the weird interaction comes in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So now that we're talking about buffs, my boy M'Baku needs a buff, brother.
Big time. He needs the Titania treatment.
In the morning, I was playing a game, brother, where with a Cerebro 2 deck, and M'Baku is in there, and I was losing the game at the end of the game, and I completely forgot that M'Baku was in there, and M'Baku jumped out of the deck, and he could win me the game if he landed on the correct lane, but he didn't, so I lost the game because of that. So even when he does his job, he still sucks, brother.
So
Maybe
if
from
you
deck or hand. You should be able to jump from deck or hand.
yeah, that should be, and also it should be like it should have the Captain Marvel ability as well. If it can win you the game, then jump out.
I'd like to see M'Baku be a 1/5, and if you play another card at this location, you put it back in your deck, but it can still jump out. But I think that might be too long of a text for Marvel Snap.
1/5 seems a bit overpowered.
Yeah, too much power.
It's as good as, I mean, it's as good as Titania.
Yeah, but
M'Baku
Titania
should
can
be
go
a
to your
1/4. I
opponent.
agree with that. Charlie said, the legend said, M'Baku should be a 1/4, and I agree. You can leave the same ability that he has right now, but give him power, you know, give him 4 power, and he remains the same.
I mean, he definitely needs something going for him.
What leader rework do you guys want to see? Like, what should his ability be?
Just delete
I
it.
think,
Delete.
I think Leader's in a good spot where he is. I don't think he needs a change.
Oh, brother, you can't be serious.
Fuck
Yeah,
the leader.
leader.
Fuck the leader, Dino.
But no-
Fuck the leader.
Leader, bro.
He,
It's
ser-
okay.
he serves a key purpose in the game, because if there was no leader, then every wave would just run rampant on everyone, or something similar.
Oh, you
Both leaders.
were you here when we discussed wave earlier? When we talk about a wave, no, one of the changes proposed for wave is that the reduction of energy doesn't stack. So if you have She-Hulk or Death, they cost 4/2, and the reduction doesn't stack. What do you think about that?
I'm not sure. I don't think Death Wave's as powerful as it once was, just because of the options available in the meta at the moment. So
Quite predictable as
don't-
well. So around
But
it.
in the case we rework the leader, and now the leader doesn't counter Death Wave.
So Death Wave's pretty good going in against Silver Surfer, right? But it's bad going against Zabu. But the consistency of Silver Surfer will often beat Zabu, so it's a bit of a triangle at the moment in the metagame that I see. So I think there'd be more cards released to increase that sort of thing. You know, instead of a triangle, it'll become a pentagram, or, you know, really complicated. But if it basically, it's any sort of combo deck that puts out a nutty turn 6, there is no other answer to that apart from leader. That's what keeps it in check.
Yes, that is leader's function, and I'll be honest. I said it earlier. I have seen a lot less leader this season, and I don't believe it is because of the 1 point reduction. It is because just maybe
Meta.
it isn't as good countering the Saw and the Silver Surfer decks that are really good right now.
So the reason that I think that leader's not as popular is because if you leader 2 Darkhawks at the end of the game, you still lose. Because their Darkhawks are bigger than the leadered ones, because you've thrown so many rocks into the deck. You know, leader doesn't really do anything.
That's with certain decks, though.
Exactly.
So specifically a Darkhawk deck. But what about like just like a general deck? Someone wants to place down like an Infinite, for example. He copies an Infinite plus 3 power.
Exactly, and I have
Yeah.
lost playing my Silver Surfer deck. I have lost to the leader because they copy my stuff and buff it with the Silver Surfer, and I lose. And that is one of my proposed reworks for the leader. He copies your stuff, but maybe not the abilities. Or in the case with the priority, weird thing that happens where if you reveal first, he copies your cards buffed and then he buffs them again. Remove that bullshit.
What if you know how Zabu gives a claw animation and both people can see it? What if?
Yes.
So what if leader made himself known, so you knew your opponent had leader, and you have to play around it, and if you don't, then that's on you.
That's a good one.
That is a good one for sure. Because
And then-
and that creates an extra mind game because they might not play the leader.
Exactly right. So I think in terms of workarounds, there's nothing. I've heard a lot of suggestions like maybe it copies one lane, but that doesn't really. We'd now need a new card that used to do what leader did somehow, or the other one that I was leaning towards is that it works like Hella, where it copies your opponent's board but randomly.
That could still be powerful.
Like, yeah, but
It's
Builder
still the
in your
same,
hand and you
but
still
you,
play
you
into
can
it anyway.
properly predict it, right?
yeah.
The suggestion I heard was make it like Magic, so that you can't play here after turn 5. Play him after turn 5.
But then you need the ramp up because he's a 6-cost card, so you condition
Well,
your deck.
reduce him,
Make
to
him
a
a
five,
5.
reduce him to a 5 cost and then give him the same ability as Magic.
That could
That's
work.
what
That could work.
The problem is that the decks that leader counters usually pass on 5 or set up on 5, so it's not. It'd make him completely irrelevant.
He loses
in my opinion.
his ability, or so his place on the game, basically.
Yeah, and I know you guys don't like leader. I can tell.
I hate the
But-
fucking leader.
But when in a meta where you know your opponent's got leader because you've played them before and they know you've got leader, it does become serious mind games and it is very tricky. It's not as brainless as people think it is.
That's the other
Basically,
problem. Leader. You don't see him coming because you can slot him in any deck. Because normally with other kinds of big cards, they normally belong in a certain deck archetype, and you can normally see them coming. But with the leader, he belongs in all types of decks, destroy decks, discard decks. So it's kind of hard to see him coming. That's like the other problem.
And that
with it.
was a moment where I started hating the leader the most. I always hated the leader, but that was a moment I hated the most when he was in every deck. Now it isn't as much, but there was a point because now if you see the good pile deck where they play armor, they play White Queen, they play Devil Dino, you know that deck runs the leader and they probably have the leader. But there was a time where every fucking deck had the leader. I was someone played the leader against me in a Patriot deck, brother. So there is the moment you hate the leader because the leader was everywhere. You were an idiot if you didn't play the leader, you know.
Absolutely. The
So
hatred was when Death Wave was at its peak
Exactly.
during
exactly.
December. So you had to do it because everything just auto-losed to Death Wave. But now when Death Wave goes in a Zabu matchup, it's nowhere near as powerful dropping Wave. Because Wave acts as stun and setup, but it doesn't against Zabu, it doesn't affect it really at all.
So
you
if
know
I
what I
play
mean.
wave, what happens to you if you have Sawo in your board?
If you have Sauron,
No, Sawu.
Zabu, everything's still 2 cost. I can just do the same play I was going to do anyway.
So wave does nothing basically.
Exactly. So that's why I was talking about the triangle. So Death Wave's not good against Zabu. Zabu is good
Sawu sucks
Getting
against Silver
tongue-tied.
Surfer.
It doesn't suck, but it's trickier. You know, it's a triangle, a metagame triangle that they're trying
Yes,
to
yes.
engineer. Is what I'm getting at. Sorry.
Like water beats fire, fire beats nature, and nature beats
Yeah.
water. Something like
Rock paper scissors.
that.
You know.
Rock, paper, scissors, yes. So yes, card buffed. M'Baku.
I wanna see Wolverine
Angels. Wolverine, yes, Wolverine is one because Wolverine is like one of the favorite characters for a lot of people, and he kinda sucks, right? I like Wolverine's ability, but he might need a buff, right?
I think it should be every time he gets destroyed or discarded, he comes back with +1 power.
That will be
Yeah.
a cool buff.
I'll get a little silly with Galactus though.
That's with Galactus too.
You'd only get like at most +2 power.
Yeah, or maybe
Easy.
reduce his power to a 2-2 and give him that ability. Or maybe even get him lower to 1. Whatever you need to do to make that change better.
Yeah.
Exactly. I agree with that. Because my boy Wolverine needs some love, brother. He needs some love.
Yeah, because when I
He
first
needs-
got it,
And
I
of
was
course,
like,
there are the classic ones like Quake and Crystal and whatever, right?
I think Crystal could be better if, like, when she shuffles your hand, she always brings out cards that wasn't in your hand. I think maybe that would make it a little bit more viable, because problem with her now is she's random, so she could literally bring you back the cards you already had, and you're like, okay, well, that was useless.
Yeah.
Or make her
Sure.
that you don't have to play her middle, because the only way to trigger her ability is playing her middle.
But then that makes it so that because sometimes you either want to do that, or sometimes you're like, I'll just play her down just for power. So maybe make it so that any location. But I think I'm fine with just being in the middle. And
Same thing with
she-
like Quake. Doesn't Quake have to be played in the middle?
yeah, make it in the middle.
Yes.
Yeah.
It'd be,
Quake
it'd be
must
I
be
think,
played in
too
the
OP.
middle.
It'd be too OP if it was any location.
Yeah.
I mean, Quake's very strong anyway. I don't controvert, like, hot take. Quake's crazy strong.
Nah, I agree with you there. Quake's not that weak that everyone says it is.
See, I
When
didn't.
she's supposed to location, is it random or is it like the furthest right?
Random.
It's random.
So,
I think every time I seen it, it looked like it was in a set order. It looked like the far right goes to the far left, left goes to the middle, middle goes to the right. I feel
so
like that's what I've seen.
during Rickety Bridge, I was playing a lot of Quake and throwing the Rickety Bridge on people's established boards, and it was absolutely nuts. So, so they'd be
Yeah.
losing all of the board.
I think she's one of those cards where people have to understand it more, and then once they realize, then it's probably going to be a better card.
Yeah, Quake is a good card.
If you think about location
no-
like bar with no name, you see that, and then
So-
you switch it, and they got all the power.
Yeah, I was gonna say I played a game with Bar with No Name with Quake, and I Professor X to Bar with No Name, and the opponent snapped me because he thought I messed up, and I Quakes it, and he lost both lanes.
That is a cool combo, brother. That is a cool combo for sure. Habibi says in the chat that Galactus is another can of worms. And you guys know that I love Galactus. But what do you think about Galactus?
He might be a problem in the future when more cards are added.
Thing is,
Think
he's
you
good at
feel-
winning. He's not good for cubes because people know when to retreat.
Yeah.
I think if Galactus and his buddies, like, you know, Null and the like, were pool 3, people would dislike it more than Leader.
Yeah.
It is,
Because it changes the way the game plays, and they would see it a lot more than they see it right now.
Yeah.
and then you
Because
have to change your play, and then they just don't do it. It's
The
I
thing
don't
with
respect.
Galactus is that it happens the same thing that with Mr. Negative, that every choice that you take from now on, you have to take into consideration from the design standpoint, the developers, that Galactus exists, you know. Every new card that they bring into the game has to think that Galactus exists.
He is Series 5, so it may not be that much of an issue. And he's going to stay in
And he
Series
will
5.
always be Series 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's less of a problem.
Like, I've only came up against Galactus a handful of times, not a lot.
As a Galactus player, when I play Galactus, I don't feel he's so strong. People, if you don't draw your stuff, you lose. If people know you are going to play and they fuck over you play, you lose. And I have played against Galactus players, and I kind of know when they are going to play in, and I also screw them over. So I don't feel it is really strong. The bullshit is that when he does trigger, it is one of the most frustrating things in the game, and that tilts people, right?
He's also quite
It may be just that I'm salty because I play against it every day, multiple times a day, but I might just be molding, you know.
You can see him coming as well, with the likes of Electro, Psylocke, or Wave. Like, whenever they play cards like that, you should be anticipating Galactus.
Yeah.
Oh, there's one thing anticipating it, right? There's another thing being able to do nothing about it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, because sometimes you have like no cards in your hand to do anything about it.
So if they Electro on 3, knock every card out of your hand on 4, and then play Galactus,
That's the thing,
feels
like,
bad.
if Galactus wasn't a Series 5 and more people had it, then people would make them try and counter Galactus, you know, maybe run out debris or something, so you put a rock on the side.
Yeah, it's true. It's
Oh,
true.
retreat then. Retreat.
And when Null gets downgraded as well, that's when Galactus is going to become even more powerful.
Have they said if they ever will downgrade? No. Because if it's in the big bad category, right?
He
His
should be
abilities-
downgraded on the next one,
Downgraded.
not in this one, but in the next one, you know.
Excellent here.
I hope Series
I just-
5 isn't just 6 drops. So they're seeming to make it's just going to be 6 drops.
Not just a
I
6
would-
drop, say, Series 5.
The only reason I say it is because, like, canon-wise in the Marvel universe, he is up there with like being as powerful
Yes, see, he's really powerful. But I do believe they will
Reduce him.
downgrade him, or they
Yeah.
should at least. They should. And that should happen at the end of February, right?
Well, do you
Hopefully.
think it's gonna get reduced?
Yeah,
I'd like
to
to think
612.
Darkhawk could get reduced.
Or Sentry and Channel.
Darkhawk,
I'm hoping
Sentry,
for Dark Oak.
and Null, right? Because those were the cards added in December.
I can't wait for Dark Oak.
Yeah, Dark Rock also.
Darkhawk, Sentry, the Null, and the Silver Surfer. That was the season pass card.
Yeah.
Desperate to get my hands on. No,
What do you think? Sentry. Is he any good?
he looks ass. I'm playing him, but he looks ass.
I mean,
It's
I
not
kind of like
great.
it because I like control decks, so being able to send over that void to them. But that's if you get Viper though. So
But
That's-
it is a hard thing to pull off, right?
with Zabu though, you can.
There's one thing saying it can be done, but doing it consistently, you know, for it to win games, to pace out something the same power as Jess Jones or even Crossbones, it doesn't. It just feels a little lackluster, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
That's
entry.
card, but it looks like a fun card though. Like just
That's
Oh
funny
yeah,
you
it's
said that.
definitely.
It's funny you
It's
said that
definitely fun.
because if you haven't Wong Shuried into a Sentry, you don't know how fun it is.
Does the
But it's-
Void come out at 16?
Well, with Zabu, you can block up that lane real easily, so that on turn 6 you can throw down Wong Shuri Sentry. So it's pretty powerful, but not many people are going to get that card and then also
Yeah.
have Zabu. But like you said, the important part is that it's not consistent enough to really be something of notice that anyone's going to look at
Yeah.
or see a lot of.
But also
I-
ways to even prevent the void from even appearing. Just block up the right location, and then you just have a 4-8 you can just play down. So that's also another value.
On the same token, though, Wong Sherry, even if you did Wong Sherry White Queen, it's still 24 power. It's probably going to win a lane, and you don't have to do any setup.
Yeah, sure.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a lot of good combos with that. I'm surprised Zabu exists.
By the way, one of the cards that a lot of people wanna see nerfed is Shuri, but at the same time, yes, Shuri, like bring her to a 0. That is, she's 4-0 because she's already giving a lot of power to the next card you play. But at the same time, do you guys think they are going to nerf a card that is going to get downgraded at the same time?
Probably not.
I would like to see Sherry say double the original attack, so you can't skyrocket things. So
the power only gets doubled.
I played that a lot. I played a lot of Darkhawk Zabu, and I think we had 100 an America Chavez and 156 on Onslaught Citadel.
Jesus.
That's
Wow.
What do
too
you mean?
much.
How does that work? Exactly, how does
So-
that work?
so if he only doubled the original attack, even if you played Wong then Sherry, the most that Chavez would be 18 because it only doubles the original attack. But as it works at the
I
moment,
understand. It keeps doubling down whatever all the time.
it goes to 18, then it goes to 36, then it goes to 72.
Exactly.
You know, I think that's the main problem with it at the moment, in my opinion, anyway. And that's from someone who uses it every day. You know, I almost
But
feel bad
still,
about doing it.
for example, in the 0 Shuri deck where you Shuri the red skull and you put down a 30 body, you know. In that case, you
Powerful.
don't need Shuri to have 2 power, you know. Shuri would do the same bullshit by having 0 power, right?
It would, yeah. You're not wrong. But then
What I'm trying to say is there is no reason why Shuri has power, basically.
But now
Yeah.
you're back to the Mr. Negative problem.
yeah. Which links back to what I was saying about that.
Oh, just delete Mr. Negative.
So you'd also start having people pulling Sherry with what's it, Jane Foster, ramping out Jane Foster to get a free Sherry or something like that.
And having maximum 0 power.
I definitely don't. I'm not jealous of the game developers having to think all this through.
Yes, exactly. And they have to test out the stuff and whatever.
Yeah.
You think Rogue needs a power buff?
Who?
Rogue. She's only a
Rogue.
3-1. She only has 1 power and
I like that how Rogue is. What I think they should do is that the other cards that have similar tech effects should get down to Rogue's power level, you know.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Shang-Chi and Cosmo and all those cards.
So in that case, if they all do get reduced to 1 power, should Sandman also stay at 1 power?
Of course, Sandman is great in there. The problem isn't that Sandman is weak. The problem is that the other cards are better than him, right?
Yeah. Too much value.
I've actually been recommending people when people have been asking me what decks are running if they don't have Darkhawk. It's a Zabu deck with Sandman. It's doing really well at the moment. It's pretty
so
strong.
you play Sandman yourself, handicapping your own strategy.
Yeah, so basically you play Zabu, and then you get 2 4s out with one of them being Sandman and go plus on the board, and then your opponent can
Then
never
you can only get like 1 card out at a
They
time.
can never
then-
get the board back, basically.
It's a really disgusting combo as well, where you play Zabu, and then you play Sandman and Black Widow, and your opponent can choose to either skip a full turn or never draw again.
Oh,
That has happened to me, by the way. That has happened to me.
I tried to counter that with Ronin in my Zabu deck, but I'm only in like the 45, 50 range. So I don't see Darkhawk that much to see if it would work. But I feel
Right.
like and I forgot to say with Super Scroll, that's important. So you're essentially, kind of balancing it out. So I wonder if that would work, or do you see anyone throwing Ronin to try and stop Darkhawk? Right? Do I have that
Really?
right?
Not to stop Darkhawk, usually there's pretty much no hand at the end most of the time.
Do I have it backwards? Darkhawk works off the opponent's hand or their own hand?
It's the opponent's deck.
Opponent's hand.
Decks.
Ronan's
Deck.
opponent's
Ronan's
hand.
opponent's hand.
It's the hand. Oh, okay. Never mind.
Yeah.
That's right. That explains that. That's why I'm down at that level.
Don't be like that then.
So, boys,
I'm still at 30, yeah.
Killmonger needs to have less power.
I've not pushed at all this
oh,
season.
Killmonger is one of the worst offenders in this bullshit. I like Killmonger, but at the same time, he's
3-1.
one of the strongest cards in the game.
3-1.
It's a necessary evil.
Yeah.
But does he
Three-
need 3 power?
No.
I don't.
Neth power.
He provides too much value. But
1 power would be enough for him because
All
you don't play
power.
him because of the power, but for the ability, right?
Yeah.
Makes it considerably less splashable. Like a 3/3 isn't champion anyway, when you consider that Scorpion's usually a 2/6. 2/7.
Exactly. Well, we talked about the Scorpion earlier, and we think that he
Alright.
should see an adjustment too.
Scorpion, a
That's
nice
my
deck.
I like Scorpion personally.
Fox,
I like him too. I like him too, but he's strong.
It's crazy that you guys like Scorpion and don't like Leader, you know.
I don't know.
Fuck the
As long as
leader.
it's in your favor.
So, boys, thanks a lot for being here. I am going to play some games, you know.
Thank you very much. Yes,
This
brother.
was
Hope
really
Yeah.
fun, brother.
Yeah,
And,
that's
and
good.
so you guys know, I want to make this a regular thing, you know, each Friday or Saturday or whatever, do this and we talk about different stuff, you know. So you guys know that we will do this again, my boys.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
appreciate
for
the
sure.
invite.
Appreciate it, yeah.
I'll try and get Como next time as well. He's just away at the moment.
Oh, that will be cool, brother. That will be cool. So, you know, next Friday we will be back again and we will talk about the matchmaking. That will be next topic. The matchmaking system in Marvel Snap Brothers. And again, thanks for being here. You guys are fucking awesome, dude.
Thank you.
No
bro.
worries. Take it easy, everyone.
Guys.
Safe.
Take care, yeah.